Okay. I'm on. All right, everybody. It is day 14 of the journal challenge. So we are completing out 2 weeks. Can y'all hear me over this music? That I do not own the rights to this music. This is the instrumental version of Lauryn Hill, the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill by the Smooth Jazz All Stars. I'm just in love with them. You need to get them off your iTunes. But anyway, today is day 14 of our journal challenge, and today we're going to talk about communicate. We're talking about communicating today. Okay? Turn this music off or down. What should I do? Turn it off or down? Okay, just a little low in the background. So today we're going to talk about communicate. Again, I am Katrina Joy, and we have been on a journey of self-discovery with each other for 2 weeks now. And we talked about a number of things. And today I think is a very, very important word of the day when we think about communication and what it means to speak our truth to the people in our tribe and those who are not in our tribe. So when we think about that, we want to think about the way communicating, how that creates partnerships and bonding and cohesiveness and connectivity with one another. We talked about yesterday, we talked about support, and communicating with one another is definitely a part of support. And so again, as we go on this journey together, I am asking you that you have a separate journal that's dedicated to our journey of self-discovery, so that you can kind of keep track of what has came up for you during this 2 weeks and the answers to the questions that we have each day, and just be able to, go back and have in an organized fashion exactly what happened as you checked in and what you felt as you checked in. So again, if you want to get the questions delivered to your inbox and have a more organized listing of the past videos, text journal 30 to 39492, journal 30 to 39492. So we always start off asking, what did I do today to bring me closer to my best self? What did I do today to bring me closer to my best self? Every day we want to make a step towards transformation and make a step towards creating the life that we want and being the person that we aspire to be. And so that would be a question that we want to ask ourselves each and every day. It's about checking in. It's about doing self-inventory. It's about making sure that our choices and the decisions that we make are aligning with our purpose. It's about making sure that we have boundaries, that we are asking for the support when we need it, that we are making adjustments as we need it as we go along. If you've been following, you notice I'm throwing out some words that have been the word of the day, because by now these concepts should be, you should try to make them part of your everyday, so that as you move along, that you are kind of internalizing what we talk about and internalizing the things that come up for you as you check in, and being authentic and just having transparency with yourself. Okay, so again, when we think about communicating, we're talking about speaking our truth. We're talking about making sure that we are coming from a place of authenticity when we talk to other people, making sure that we're not holding things in. When we don't communicate our feelings and our truths, what we do, we set ourselves up for unforgiveness. We set ourselves up to be taken advantage of. We set ourselves up to hold grudges and things like that. And here's the thing, no one can read your mind. Okay. And there are definitely some barriers that might stop you from being able to communicate the things that you feel and the things that are on your heart. And sometimes it's fear. It could be fear of rejection, of confrontation, something like that. It might be a fear of loss, because sometimes when we communicate something, there is a risk that something that we might lose something. And you also could be fearful of what you might gain. It might be fear of just being vulnerable, because once you open up your mind and your heart and let people know what you're thinking, it can put you in a vulnerable place. So we definitely need to think about that as well. So just kind of check in with yourself, and that's going to bring us to our first journal question around communicating. And that is, what are you holding inside that you need to communicate, and why are you hesitating? You want to just give some thought to, what is it that I am not communicating? Just think about something that's really been on your heart, something that that you need to have a hard conversation about, and think about what area of your life that's in. And as you think about that, start to assess, do I always struggle or have a challenge in this area of communicating? It could be a particular area, it could be a particular person, or it could be around a particular subject, so to speak, a particular topic. Okay. So for instance, maybe you are struggling communicating to maybe let's think about your career. Maybe you're struggling to communicate. You want a promotion, or maybe something you feel like isn't really fair or righteous in your work community. And so you're having a hard time communicating there. And so look at, do I always have a hard time communicating and standing up for myself in that area of my life? Maybe you're having a hard time communicating in a area of your life that has to do with relationships, and you're not able to speak your truth in that area. And so you want to think about, again, you're going to do some really authentic self-inventory and say, am I really having a hard time in this area? And is this a pattern for me that I can't communicate freely in my relationships? It doesn't have to be an intimate relationship. It could be a friendship relationship, with your close friends. It could be something in your family that you're not communicating. We talked about wounds the other day. Sometimes it's because of the wounds that we have. Maybe you feel like that every time you communicate something that's on your heart, you feel like it's not accepted, or you might feel like you're being ridiculed, or maybe you're not being taken seriously. Any of those things. This is for you to really look at and uncover what the barriers are and why. What is that about? The next thing you want to do when you think about what area, and if it's a pattern of behavior, think about if there are some areas in your life that might be overlapping. When you think about, why do I have an issue with communicating my truth and speaking my truth? Usually, if you're a person and you know this is something no one has to tell you. You know that if you're considered I'm the nice person, oh, I just don't say anything. I don't like confrontation. Know that confrontation does not always have to be negative. Okay, confrontation typically does have like a negative type of energy associated with it, but it does not have to be negative. It could just be you in a loving way, just speaking up for yourself. We talked about on day 2. Remember, I told you we're always going to reference previous videos. We talked about being in bondage. I'm sorry, not bondage. That was day 1. We talked about boundaries. And when you don't have boundaries, it is very hard for you to be able to communicate to others what's on your heart and what's on your mind. And so you'll see that there becomes a pattern, and that will, again, set you up for resentment. because sometimes we have this idea that someone should kind of know what we think. You know that saying, what's understood doesn't have to be explained. What's understood doesn't have to be explained. How about this? Are you sure that it's understood? Are you sure that it's understood? It might not be understood. So before you say, and again, I say this because we kind of hold on and start saying these little trendy sayings, and it sets us up for failure. It sets us up to be hurt and wounded. So instead of saying what's understood doesn't have to be explained, I suggest that you make sure that it's understood, because you might need to explain, or take the position of, not making assumptions. Ask the direct questions and communicate the direct thought. Again, I'm talking about doing this in a loving way, not in a I just say what I want to say. And we talked about that the other day. That's not what I mean, but communicate in a loving way and in a way that's clear. And then when you communicate what is on your heart and mind, make sure you go and ask, after you've communicated, does the other person understand? Do they get it? Or we have to understand on the other end when we think about communication, when someone is communicating to us, because again, we're talking about partnerships in building and bonding with each other when we're communicating. So does the other person, do you understand what the other person is communicating to you? So when someone is speaking to you, the best thing to do is to say, okay, so what I heard you say is ... Am I correct? Is this what you're saying? Is this what I hear you communicating? So that you are both clear and there are no misunderstandings. Okay. There is a book that I love. I absolutely love. It's called The Four Agreements. If you have not read that book, I suggest you go and read that book. It's by Don Miguel Ruiz. Let me see if I can. What happened? I thought I had that on. I'm going to type it on the screen. I think this is the way he said it. And if it was not far away, I would actually go grab it off my bookshelf. But I didn't know I was going to reference it today. It kind of just came up. And it's called the Four Agreements. And one of the four agreements says, never make assumptions. Just don't assume. I'm guilty of it. I've assumed things and thought, is that what you meant when you said that? But when I went back for clarification, when I went back to get something clarified, and I realized, oh, I was wrong. I was in error. Okay. So be clear on that. The next thing we want to think about when we think about, I'm sorry, let me finish writing the four agreements. Like I said, Don Miguel Ruiz. The library will have it. You can go check it out at the library, but it's a really good read. I'm really into self-development, you all. And this book here, this is a game changer. This is a game changer book. Go get it from the library, but this is really something that you should have as part of your collection when we think about developing ourselves and making sure that we are growing our inner person, okay? Okay, so let me get off track. So again, we're talking about communicating. Now let's think about this. What is it costing you when you do not communicate what's on your heart? What is it costing you when you don't communicate what's on your heart? Let me throw some things out there. Is it costing you pride? Is it making you shameful? Is it costing you relationships? Is it costing you money? Maybe you're not communicating something in the area of career, but or vocation or something like that. Is it costing you that? Is it costing you your time? Okay. We talked about, when we think about the year, our year is made up of our days, right? And our life is made up of our years. we don't have time to play with our life. So is it costing you that? Just think about that main area that you're struggling with, and I guarantee you will see that if you zoom in on that one area, you will see that there will be some overlaps in other areas. And then when you look at what type of wounds you might have from communicating, and a lot of our wounds stem from childhood. Okay, just think about maybe as a child, you have to kind of go back. Now this is some deep work, and this is something that really needs to be kind of guided and focused. But when you think about that, and when you think about your childhood, think back to a time where you felt like you communicated something in whatever you felt, and that could be the start of that. And so look at what is it costing you to not be honorable to yourself. What we're really talking about is honoring yourself. We're talking about being righteous to yourself. We're talking about loving yourself. We're talking about boundaries here. I told you all the other day that how you do anything is how you do everything. And when you are not speaking your truth to other people, guarantee that you're not speaking your truth to yourself. Don't be fooled. Don't sell yourself short, because it's about facing the truth about things. And this is all we're talking about today. Okay, about speaking your truth and communicating it in a way that is understood, that is clear, and communicated in a way that is heart-led and loving, not in a nasty way, but in a way that, and don't get me wrong, just because you say something lovingly, okay, and in a way that is honorable, does not mean that the receiver is going to accept it that way, because they have wounds too. Our people in our tribe, they have wounds as well. And so they're going to perceive what you communicate based on their own experiences, okay? That's a whole nother video, and I've touched on that before. But when we think about perception, it's all rooted in experience, okay? But what I'm talking about is what your intention is when you speak your truth. Don't speak truth from a way that is meant to hurt, meant from a way to harm, because make no mistake about it, you can kill someone with your words. You can, you can destroy. You can destroy someone with the things that you say. And once you communicate it, and when you in the energy that you put behind those words, once it's out there and received, you cannot take that back. Okay. So the first question that we talked about around communication was, what are you not communicating and why are you hesitating? And I went through some examples that, could be possibly rooted in fear. Okay. And so that brings us to our affirmation. Before I get to that, I do want to remind you all, text journal 30-39492. I know I sound like a broken record, but we're 2 weeks in. That means we're 14 videos in, 14 words in of the day, and questions in. So this way you can access it quickly, because I am sure that if you haven't been following along each day, maybe you want to catch up, a favorite, and you want to go over that concept again, and that is fine. But that way you can access it immediately. But anyway, as we get to today's affirmation, again, like I said, I talked about, I asked you, why are you not speaking your truth, or why are you not communicating, and why are you hesitating? Like, what is stopping you from that? And so the affirmation for today is, I speak my truth even if my voice trembles. I speak my truth even if my voice trembles, meaning, listen, if I'm scared of how it's going to be received, if I'm scared of rejection, if I'm scared of what I might lose, if I'm scared of what I might gain, whatever it is, we want to make sure that we speak up and communicate as we try to build, partnerships and bond with each other. But even if Your voice is trembling. Speak what's on your heart. Speak your truth. Yes, in wisdom, there is a time where you just need to listen. Yes, in wisdom, there is a time where you might need to wait and speak later. But I am speaking of holding something in and not communicating when you know that you should, not communicating when you know that not saying something is hurting you or hurting someone else. Okay, there is a lot to be said when we are silent, and sometimes silence communicates something louder, than what happens when you speak your truth. And it could be received that you don't care, or it could be received that you're standing on the wrong side of the fence. Who knows? There are times, of course, when silence is the better response as well. The point I'm making is silence is communicating, okay? But you have to know for yourself, am I not saying nothing because I'm scared? Or is my silence sending the message that I wanted to send? And that is kind of the difference that I'm making here. What are you communicating? Now, before we log off, let's be also clear that your body language is a form of communication as well. We didn't touch on it a lot today. Excuse me, in the video. I don't have my lemon water with me, y'all. Sorry. But your body language is a communicator as well. And so sometimes you think, I'm guilty. Lock me up or away the key. But your body language, your eyes, your posture, or, all of that will communicate something as well. So make sure that, think I'm not going to say anything. You're saying something, okay? So that's just a little LOL for you at the end of the video. But anyway, thank you for listening. I give so much thanks for you. I thank you for being on this journey. I'm enjoying this journey. And I will tell you in this moment of transparency, for me, it is really stepping up my accountability because I have committed to you to be here with you every day. And honestly, there have been some days where, I have not been my best self in that moment. And I felt, not because I didn't want to be here, but because whatever was going on internally, but I had to check in. And so this is helping me to be accountable to you as well. And so I thank you for listening. I thank you for being here. Make sure you, you're following along. If you fell off, that's okay. Just start where you are. Like I said, we talked about adjustments one day. If this is the first time you even listen to the videos, that is okay. Start here. If you want access to everything else, just text Journal 30 to 39492. I'll bid you good evening. I will see you all tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Good night.